but you're not alone. You're down and out and you're high and dry, in the darkest valley or the coldest night you'll find that you're not alone. With a song bubbling in your heart, where a story's gonna give you a brand new start. You don't have to travel this big bad world all on your own, 'cause it's better when we do it together. All mixed up and upside down, feels like there's no one else around. That ain't right. You're not alone. When it all goes south and life gets tough and you've been knocked down and the weeds are rough, you just fight, fight, fight. You're not alone. With a song bubbling in your soul, a story's gonna make you whole. You don't have to travel this big bad world all on your own, 'cause it's better when we do it together. Yeah, it's better when we do it together. Hey everybody, how are you doing? Happy 2022. It is the Polaha Chautauqua. I'm coming to you live today. It's Kristoffer Polaha, your host. Man, hi. It's good to be back. How are you guys doing? Let's see who we've got out there today. Let's go and say hello. Ann, first one to join in. Hi, Ann. Not amused in Seattle. She's never amused. And Shelly's here. Hi, Dale. Hi, Sherry. Hey, Neems. Bunty is here. Hi, Bunty. Pastor Rich Gregory's in the house. What's up, my brother? Gazim is in the house. Hello, Gazim. Kelly. Hi, Kelly. 61. We got Ramucci. She says hello. Hello. Terry. Sue Dower. Hello. LK Grant. Hello. Alex. Hello. Nurse Official. Hey, good to see you. Stephanie Fondy, hi. Ruth, hi. Sarah Drake Hart is in the house. Hi, Sarah. We've got a full house. I love it. 237 people. Not a shabby start. So guys, there are some seismic motions happening in the Polaha Chautauqua. There are things that are shifting daily and weekly and monthly, and this has been such an unbelievable community. And I'm trying to figure out how to proceed and how we move forward. In the new year, I always love sort of kicking things off with a brand new start and sort of jumping in, and I have an agenda. And I don't really have an agenda for the spring semester here on the Polaha Chautauqua. I know that I want to talk to you. I know that I want to hear your stories. I'm going to interview people. We're gonna be doing a mishmash of things. So I know in the past people have been used to being able to prepare for things. There's nothing really going to be preparing for. Sunday is going to be random, and it's going to go back to old form where I just go live with people, and I want to hear your stories. It's interesting when you say, well, what does that mean? Everybody's got a story. Everybody has these defining moments, and we kind of knit them together in a narrative that help define who we are and how we move through the world. And I would really love to hear your story. So knowing that, we're going to go live starting next week, and then throughout the course of the spring semester. We'll figure it out as we go. But today, I have a special guest. I have a doctor, a man with a PhD, went to school a lot longer than I did. I'm going to show you his book. His book is called Sugarproof, The Hidden Dangers of Sugar That Are Putting Your Children's Health at Risk and What You Can Do. It includes a 7-day and a 28-day challenge with recipes. And I'm speaking today with Dr. Michael Goran or Goran, I believe. I'm going to get that right here in a minute. I did the fast. There's the old, we're down here in the old weight room. I did the fast, and I'll bring him on to talk about what it was. But holy cow, I had no idea how much sugar I eat on a daily basis. I mean, I consume a ton of sugar. And B, I had no idea how dependent my body is on sugar. I had the worst headache, and I ended up making some stupid purchase. I was on the roof of my house taking down my Christmas lights. Far too late to be doing this. It was halfway through January. But I was taking down my Christmas lights, and these dudes rolled up, and they wanted to sell me a sound system, and I bought it. I literally was like, sure, I'll do that. And I Venmo'd them the cash right then and there. I didn't even look at the sound system. I don't want to tell you that it doesn't come with wires and that I still haven't figured out if it works or not. But I am going to blame the good doctor for that, because my head was just like, I was confused. I was confused without my sugar. So before I bring him on, I'm going to read you something real quick, because I think it's an important thing for me to go. So I'm going to go ahead and read you a little bit of the introduction, and then I'm going to bring on the good doctor, and we're going to talk about sugar today. And I want to know how many of you guys joined me on the fast, what that was like for you. So put that in the comments, and we can ask questions via the comments. While he's talking, I'll be making sure, I'll look through and we'll go through that. So he writes, I remember the day I decided to write Sugarproof. At the time, I was leading a team at the Childhood Obesity Research Center, which I founded at the University of Southern California. For over 30 years, my research has focused on understanding the causes and consequences of obesity in children and how nutrition in early life, even in healthy children, can affect long-term disease risk in adulthood. Over the years, I've seen diet trends come and go, but for me, it's all about the data. On most days, I'm at my desk looking at results from studies involving children who suffer from weight gain and its associated health problems like diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and liver disease. I work to uncover the links between diet and health during infancy and childhood, and then I design and test unique interventions to address these problems. As a nutrition scientist, my hope is always that the raw numbers I love so much will ultimately help us discover how to best prevent the damage that these diseases and disorders do to our children using nutritional approaches. With all sorts of measurement tools like dietary assessments, specific blood tests, MRI scans, body composition measures, and DNA sequencing to test genetic differences and gut microbiome differences, I look for answers through patterns in the data. But on this day, a different kind of data crossed my desk. What I saw that morning were the results of a laboratory analysis that I'd commissioned, one that looked at products that children love. Sweetened beverages, juices, yogurts. The products I studied included the obvious choices like Coca-Cola, Sprite, 7-Up, as well as a broad range of juice drinks popular with kids, including Capri Sun, apple juice, and the orange drink Tampico. The analysis also included snacks and breakfast foods like Go-Gurt and other yogurts and sweetened breakfast cereals. I knew these foods and drinks were high in sugar, but I wanted to know more about the different types of sugars that might be hidden in them, the ones nutrition labels are not required to disclose. I had a very simple question. What exactly are in these products that we are routinely feeding our children? The results made my jaw drop. In many cases, the overall amount of sugar in the products was higher than was listed on the food labels. Worse yet, I saw a disturbing amount of hidden fructose in these products. Fructose is a cheap and sweet form of sugar with many benefits as an ingredient when used in food and beverage production, but unfortunately, more and more research shows that fructose is especially damaging to growing hearts, livers, and brains. I spent 30 years as a researcher, and long before this day, I've seen sugar do awful things to children. I had researched sugar as a factor in chronic disease, weight gain, and behavioral problems, and I've become an advocate for families researching interventions that can help parents right-size their family's sugar consumption. And that can even turn these diseases around. Even so, this day was a tipping point. He goes on to say why this is so alarming. He also goes on to write a whole book about where the sugars are hidden, what kind of sugars there are, and how we can right-size our diets. I love that look. And by doing a fast to go all in. So, with no further ado, I'm going to Let's see if he can accept. Hi,
Hi, Chris. How are you?
I'm good. Is it Dr. Goran or Dr. Goran?
Dr. Goran, but we can go by Michael. It's totally fine, please.
Hi, Michael.
Hey,
How are you
thank
today?
you for the lovely reading of my book and the song. Can I get that song on my phone? I thought it was fantastic. Thank you for that.
I really appreciate it. You know, I'll tell you a quick story. I used to start these live shows out with different music, and I kept getting hit with copyright infringement, and they would take the show off literally while I was playing. Specifically, it was Guns N' Roses, "Welcome to the Jungle," and halfway through, the whole show went dead. And then I tried it again, and then it died again. And I realized there's a block on certain songs. So my son is a songwriter, and I had him write me a little ditty. And so now I just open every show with a theme song. I'm
I
glad you
love
liked
it.
it.
I really liked it. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
You wrote an impressive book, and I'm so grateful for it, because one of the things I find, as somebody who is health conscious, as somebody who was raised in a health conscious, my mother, you would have loved her. Her name is Esther. She's still with us. So you would love her. Let me rephrase that. And she was a big anti-sugar advocate in the household that I grew up in. So we had like tofu in our refrigerator and no sugar cereals, no ice creams, lots of fruit juices that were organic, but then even that was limited. Um, and I wonder, because my best friend Graham, he grew up in a household that was chock full of sugar cereals, ice cream in the refrigerator. And I used to go to Graham's house and I would pig out and I'd eat all the sugar I could. And Graham would come to my house and be like, "Where's the ice cream?" But now as we've grown up, he
Hmm.
doesn't like sugar because he had so much of it as a kid. And I have this crazy sweet tooth where I could just, and it's amazing how much sugar I eat. I mean, doing the fast, and have you ever heard of people making crazy decisions while they were fasting on sugar and the headache?
No, we're going to have to add confused on the roof as a possible side effect. We haven't heard that one before, but certainly the headache is pretty typical. Can last a couple of days, and that's one of the hallmark signs of addiction. So people wonder, is sugar addictive? It might be addictive, but regardless, once you try to give it up, it shows signs of addiction,
Right.
like headache. And I bet you feel better now.
Yeah. I mean, there was a clarity that kicked in because we were supposed to speak last Sunday.
Yeah.
So I pushed the fast on a little longer. I've broken the fast since then. Um, but I realized in it how much sugar I consume. So what I wanted to do with you today, one of the things, first off, I'd love to talk to you about anything you would like to discuss regarding the book. And I'll let you, it's an open forum. So if there's things that you want me to highlight or we could talk about, just point me in that direction and we could go there. Um, I've dog-eared some stuff throughout the book that we could talk about. But the other thing I wanted to do was, I'm curious if people wanted to just ask how much sugar is in any given item. Are you so in tune with how much sugar is where? Like if we talked about Coca-Cola, can we show people how much sugar physically is in Coca-Cola?
Yeah. Well, we have that all in the book, and we post. If you check our feed on Instagram Kids, we're frequently posting those types of things. We put a video out a few weeks ago that I think has got 70,000 views, and basically we showed the extra sugar that you would consume or that you would not consume if you went from Honey Nut Cheerios just to regular Cheerios.
I saw
I don't know
that.
if
I
you
posted
saw it.
that. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it turned out to be 3 or 4 bags of sugar per year of extra sugar that you would end up consuming. So, you've got the Coca-Cola, which is the obvious big culprit, and you can cut it out. That's got, 40 grams of sugar. That's 10 teaspoons. But there's also things like cereal, pastas, nut butters, things you might not expect, and those add up too. I just got home from the grocery store last week with a bag of bagels from Whole Foods,
Hmm.
and I just assume that if I'm buying stuff there, it's going to be okay. And each bagel had 5 grams of added sugar.
Wow. Now, what is
So
a
it's like,
What does a gram of sugar look
So a
like?
gram of sugar is what is it? Four 4 grams is 1 teaspoon.
Okay, so I got my sugar here.
Oh, good. Yeah, let's play a game.
Let's play a game. And so it's how much is a gram?
What? Which way is it? 40 grams, 10. Yeah, 4 grams per teaspoon. So 1 teaspoon is 4 grams. So if you imagine if you make a cup of tea,
right,
and you put in 10 teaspoons of sugar,
right,
and maybe you put half, maybe you put 1, but would you ever put 10?
yeah, no, you never would.
So, but 10 is what would, yeah.
Okay, so this is a teaspoon.
Yeah.
And this is 4 grams of sugar?
Yeah.
Okay, so you had a teaspoon of sugar added plus a little bit added to your bagel, that's a pretty good amount of sugar. That's per bagel, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you have something like 20 grams of sugar, and what's in a Coke? Do we know what's in a Coke?
So Coke is 40 grams.
40 grams. So that's 10 of these?
Yeah, 10 teaspoons. Yeah.
We got 1, so that's 2, 3, here, 4, 5, 6, 7. Holy cow. In 1 can? 8,
Yeah.
9, 10. Okay, this is how much is in a can of Coke?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, okay, that blows my mind. Let's talk about the.
What was your biggest? What did you find was your biggest, your usual culprit, your big source of extra sugar?
So every morning I have tea, and I put 4 grams of sugar in my tea every morning. I put a teaspoon of sugar in my tea. So every day I'm starting off with a little milk, a little caffeine, and a little sugar. And then I would go through, and the first day of fasting, I was trying to eat healthy things, and all of a sudden, I craved a candy bar of all things. I wanted a payday. I was in the checkout line. It was like my body started doing the thing that I was telling it not to have. It was like, you got to have sugar. But like ketchup, your ketchup at home when you eat a hot dog. So like a hot dog has sugar in it. If you put relish on it, if you put ketchup on it, the bun, does the meat itself have sugar in it? Do we know?
Depends on where it was sourced. Some could have added sugar, and if it's a processed burger or whatever it is that you're putting in, but for sure the bun, the relish could have added sugar.
Now, what about people are asking? What about Splenda? What does that stuff do?
Okay, I need to write another book about this. Because this is the question that keeps recurring. I mean, we have a lot of information in the book. By the way, people are asking about the book. It's Sugarproof. You've got the hardback.
I got the hardback. Yeah.
The paperback just came out, same content, but slightly different cover.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's Sugarproof. But the diet sweeteners are a whole different story, and there's 20 plus different sweeteners that are approved by the FDA currently. Sucralose is the most common. Sucralose is nothing but chlorinated sugar, and it's the most popular sweetener. It's made by adding chlorine to sugar. And when you do that, the magic of chemistry makes the sugar molecule 200 times sweeter. That's good. Makes it not absorbed, so you don't absorb it into your bloodstream, so you don't process the calories. So food companies love this because you can get lots of sweetness without the calories, but it's chlorinated sugar. Other people are
like what we put into our swimming pool to kill all the germs.
Yeah, but it's tagged onto a sugar molecule.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Those are like the synthetic ones, ASK, aspartame, and then there's the newer ones, the natural ones, stevia, monk fruit, and I think the natural perception for most people is they must be okay because they're naturally occurring. Like stevia is grown from the stevia leaf, monk fruit is extracted from an Asian fruit. They're also much, much sweeter, but they don't quite do the job. They're not absorbed. The reason they're not caloric is they're not absorbed, meaning they just sit around in your gut and they can affect your gut health. Number two, we have these sweet taste receptors all the way through the body, not just in the mouth. We have these sweet taste receptors in the brain and the gut. Number three, they trick the body because once you consume any kind of sweetener, stevia, monk fruit, or sucralose, it tricks the body. The body thinks there's sugar coming in, but there's not. If the body thinks there's sugar being absorbed, it will take it out of the blood and use it for energy.
Okay.
But it's never there to begin with, right? It's not really coming in. The body just thinks it's coming in. And if the body takes sugar out of the blood, you'll go hypoglycemic, meaning hungry, cranky, making bad decisions on the rooftop, eating food, eating lots of food. So actually studies show that individuals who are consuming these sweeteners end up consuming more calories and more sugar throughout the day.
Interesting. That is interesting.
And the last thing I'll say is they don't really taste that good. So for most people. So I'd say, why contaminate food with something that doesn't taste good?
Right.
Why
Right.
not just
Hyper sweet.
why not just use less sugar?
Right.
So for you and your tea in the morning, I'd say don't replace your sugar with stevia. Go from 1 teaspoon to half a teaspoon.
Right.
And then maybe to 1/4 of a teaspoon.
Right. What do you say to people who just have a sweet tooth? I mean, the brain needs sugar, right? Doesn't the brain eat sugar? Isn't that its fuel? And so where do we get healthy sugars from in the diet daily?
Well, yeah, I mean, so glucose is a sugar, and glucose is used by all cells of the body, including the brain, but all organs use glucose for energy. So yeah, that's a fact metabolically. But we get that glucose from not just from sugar, but also from carbohydrates, which break down into sugar. So there's lots of other sources of glucose for that brain metabolism, and the body can even make some glucose metabolically. So if you stop eating sugar, you're not going to deprive your brain of the fuel it needs. There's plenty of other sources.
Okay. Okay. And you talk about that in the book. You have recipes. You let people know where good sugar is found, where bad sugar is found. It's a really comprehensive guide to right-siding your diet. It's one of those things where I think consumers are so confused when they go shopping. We feel so misled. We look at labels. And when you wrote the book, I think this has been amended in the paperback. When you wrote the book, they weren't listing the different types of sugars, but they are now, right? They're legally obligated to list the different types of sugars that go into products, or is that still obscured?
Nothing much has changed since the paperback came out. The list keeps growing. Haven't checked it recently, but when we wrote the book, it was 260 plus names for sugar. And so the food companies just like to create new names that sounds good, like organic brown rice syrup. It's organic, it's brown, and it's rice. But really, at the end of the day, organic brown rice syrup is the same as corn syrup. It's just the syrup you get if you boil down corn syrup versus organic brown rice. If you boil it down long enough, it turns into a syrup, and it's the same as corn syrup. So the only thing that's changed recently is food companies now, food labels have to differentiate added sugars. So if you look at the nutrition label on any product, it should say, protein, fat. It should say sugars and then added sugars.
Okay.
And that helps us differentiate. Let's say a yogurt, for example, might have sugar from the dairy, which is lactose, and then it might have some added sweetener like fructose or fruit sugar or something. That's added sugar.
Right.
So when we talk about removing added sugars, we're not talking about whole fruit. and we're not talking about dairy. Those are naturally occurring whole foods that contain sugar. We're talking about sugars added during processing.
Yeah. What did you have you seen? I mean, you must have seen the research has led you, obviously, when you're looking at health and you're a doctor, what are some of the worst cases that you've seen? I mean, I'm sorry this gets a little dark and morbid, but like you see a kid walk in, have you ever seen it where it's strictly been a result of diet, where you're just like, this kid has eaten nothing but fast foods, sugar-laden foods, and now here's a result. There's obesity, there's diabetes, there's bad health. And like, what are some of those horror stories that made you, I mean, you obviously were compelled to write this. You're obviously looking at the world and you're looking at sort of, I remember I was in college and there was a documentary about sugar, and it did say that sugar was a drug, and it said that it was the #1 drug pushed by all the manufacturers. I mean, they went as far as to say that it was like worse than cocaine, and they hook our kids on it from the word go. And then as consumers, we are just, and then you learn that they put sugar in our salads at fast food restaurants, and they put sugar in the meat, and they put sugar in the French fries, so that every time you eat all that, like, because your body joneses for sugar, like it wants the sugar. Why? So I know that was a twofold question. Worst kid you've ever seen, and why does our body want it so bad?
Yeah, we in our research, we've kind of seen it all. You know, we have kids who didn't know they were sick, but when we do the basic measurements, they have type 2 diabetes, they have fatty liver disease, they have a pretty strong compulsion, craving, addiction to consume a lot of sugar. They'll even show up to meet with our dietitian, you know, eating sodas and eating junk food, even though they know they're about to meet with a dietitian to help them.
Right.
So that tells you how strong the addiction must be. I think fatty liver and type 2 diabetes now, you know, when I started to do this research, those weren't even problems in children. Those were adult diseases. And since in 2000, we started seeing type 2 diabetes, used to be called adult onset diabetes. And now we're seeing non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Wasn't even a disease 10 years ago.
Wow.
Most liver disease was due to alcohol because of the way alcohol destroys the liver. And now the most common form of liver disease is non-alcoholic liver disease, and the non-alcohol is specifically fructose, because fructose is metabolized, broken down in the liver in exactly the same way as alcohol.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So fructose, and that's in everything. Like they're putting that in everything. Like like syrup is fructose syrup. Like when you put fake syrup on your pancakes, isn't that just corn syrup?
Well, it could be a number of different things. So and there's a lot of confusion. So corn syrup is just glucose, and we try to break this down in the book. It's so confusing.
Okay.
Because corn syrup is derived from corn, and corn is just a starch carbohydrate, and that's all glucose. But fructose is showing up more and more because it's cheaper to produce. It started with high fructose corn syrup, which is probably what you were originally thinking of.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's food companies have the corn syrup, but they realized that if they convert some of those glucoses into fructose, you get something even sweeter. And so that is what high fructose corn syrup is. But now there's plenty of other sources of fructose that sound healthier, like fruit juice concentrate, for example. That sounds pretty good, right? Fruit juice concentrate. But fruits, we know, are very high in fructose. So if you take the juice out of a fruit, throw away the fiber, throw away the phytonutrients, and just concentrate down those sugars, that's going to be high fructose fruit concentrate.
Okay. When you said that they convert it, how do they do that? What is the process? Are we talking about in a lab, or is it a matter of cooking it? Like, how do you do that?
No, it's a laboratory. It's very highly processed, industrial conversion. Literally, it's an enzymatic reaction
Okay.
that
So it's
converts.
highly manipulated. It's nowhere near what's found in nature.
Oh, no, no, not at all. No.
Okay. Okay. Um, so interesting. Let me see.
Lots of great questions.
What other questions do we have? Do you see any that you want to address?
Uh, Raw honey, yeah, raw honey is a good source of, if you're going to use an added sugar, raw honey's pretty good. You can control it much better. You can use it, you know, in your case, a few drops in your tea or your coffee or in your smoothie. So if you're going, you know, in my kitchen, we have honey, maple syrup, coconut sugar. We'll use those, but try to just use less of them.
Mm-hmm. Like maple syrup is good, right? Like the real stuff, the real deal.
Yeah, but again, you know, try it. Maple, you know, the taste is great. We tend to kind of overuse it. Um, you know, in the book we talk about alternatives. So, for example, who doesn't love maple syrup on pancakes, right? But
Right.
there's lots of other ways to enjoy pancakes with other things other than maple syrup. So you can put fruit on it, you can put yogurt on it. So um, it tends to get a little overused because it tastes so good.
Right. Right. I'm looking at your book right now. I watched you make a banana little sort of like a banana power bar.
Yeah,
Is
yeah. I
is
just
that
made,
is that tasty? Do the kids like it?
yeah, in fact, that video was Emily. Emily's my co-author. She develops the recipes. Her son is the one who's narrating the video. So
Okay.
it's a very simple 3 ingredient, and I literally just made them an hour or two ago because I hadn't made them yet, and I was trying to figure out if I liked them. Orla, are you here?
You got them in the house with you? You got them right now?
I got them downstairs, but I literally just had one because I just worked out, and it's very simple. It's just
Yeah.
mash up the bananas, add some oats, add some nut butter, and flatten it, and then you bake it. And it's a very simple thing. And then you know exactly what's in there, but you can add stuff to it too. You can add some fiber or some nuts or some chocolate chips or whatever feels good.
How much sugar is okay? Like let's just go back to grams of sugar. Like how much is okay consuming a day? Like in our bodies, like we have a caloric intake where we know that if we eat a certain amount of calories, our body's going to burn a certain, we're not going to gain weight. We have that, you know, we can balance all that out. So when you're looking at sugar and sugars, how many grams of sugar on average daily should we be looking to take in our body? What's a healthy amount?
So the typical recommendations these days from the World Health Organization and the USDA, Department of Agriculture, is less than 10% of calories. So if you're consuming, let's say for round numbers, 2,000 calories per day, the average adult, that's 200 calories divided by 4, that's 50 grams
Okay.
of sugar.
So yeah, if you
That
do a Coke, you're done. A can of
Yeah,
Coke.
yeah. And for kids, it's a little less, obviously, because they're just consuming less calories. And in fact, the new dietary guidelines that just were published about a year ago, for the very first time, recommended what we suggest in the book, which is for infants between 0 and 2 years of age. The recommendation is
No sugar.
zero added sugar.
Right. Right.
And that's, you know, because of the recognition that led me to write the book, the recognition that sugars are bad for everybody, but even worse for young kids.
Well, let's jump back 100 years ago. I mean, neither one of us was alive, so this is all speculation. But humans had a very different diet 100 years ago, didn't we?
Yeah, yeah. So 100 years ago, let's see, where are we? 2022. So
Yeah.
1922. I would say, yeah, the consumption of sugars was probably a fraction of what it is. And in fact, in the book, I think we have some data on this going back. There's data going back as far as the colonial period.
Okay.
And back in the colonial days, I think the average consumption was about one, you know, these 2 pound bags of sugar you buy at the grocery store.
Yeah.
So the average adult would be eating one of those a year.
Wow.
And now we eat our way through a 2-pound bag every 5 days.
That's crazy.
So yeah, that is crazy.
So as a nutritionist and a parent, and you're moving through the world just like I am, just like we are, how much time and effort are you putting into what you're feeding your family in general, not just regarding sugar, but are you looking at the meats that you take in? Are you looking at fast food like Chick-fil-A? Is that a place like it used to be, I think growing up, restaurants, fast food, sugar, ice creams, all that stuff, they were considered a treat. And so you would have them once a week, maybe, but it was like a celebratory thing. And otherwise you had your basic home cooked. I mean, I grew up in a home where my mom, loved cooking. And so there was this, every night we had a really well-balanced, you know, vegetables and meat and all the stuff, and not a dessert every night. So for us, it was very much like there was a time and a place for treats. But I feel like in our world today, I don't know if it's just me, but in our family, but it feels like treats are on, like there's almost like a lot more fast food, a lot more sugar. Are you recognizing that across the board? Is that a singular thing for us, or how's that look?
No, I think that's pretty pretty widespread, and we got to get it under control. That's not to say, in our house. Well, first of all, I got one kid who's gone, so she's 19, so job's done. She's in Ireland doing her thing. But I think I think hopefully she learned a few things along the way and she's applying it in the real world. My other daughter's, 16, so she eats a lot of food out of the house now, and it, definitely becomes harder. Um, and in our house, at home, we do cook a lot. We like to cook, and we like to know what we're eating. So we end up doing a lot of the cooking. We just typically don't eat a lot of fast food. Uh, I'm sure the kids do, when they're out with their friends once in a while. And regarding treats, yeah, we all like treats once in a while. I don't think there's, our philosophy in Sugarproof is just not to say you can never have treats again, okay? Because it's such an important part of coming together, of celebration, of tradition. And the issue is to try and eliminate the hidden sugars that you didn't even know you were consuming,
Right.
like in pastas and breads and ketchup, to eliminate the big sources like sodas and juices so that we can kind of enjoy some of those other things. And, maybe we can reduce the frequency, not every day, or reduce the portion size. We have, in our house, we have what we call mini D, mini dessert night, where we kind of make a deal out of it, coming together after dinner and having a little treat of something with a cup of tea or something like that.
Right.
So I think there's still plenty of ways we can do it, and we're not here to kind of shoot that down in any way. I think we're just trying to get things back to where they should be in terms of what's a healthy level.
Yeah. I love what you said on page 141. You said the goal of Sugarproof is to reduce sugar without creating a restrictive environment in order to teach our kids how to make changes on their own terms.
Oh, yeah. Did I say that? That's a great
You wrote that. Good.
Okay. What page? 141. I'm going to underline it right
yeah,
now.
it was 141.
Yeah, I mean, so internal motivation.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a parent and you're watching this right now and you are as confused and overwhelmed daily with kids, because it's hard to feed your kids, man. I mean, my wife, she'll cook something beautiful and she'll take all this time and energy to make a really delicious meal that's healthy, and the kids are like, ah, and they just want trash. And I think the trash is because it's sweet, or because it's super savory and fried, or whatever the thing is. And don't get the wrong idea, my kids they're not at a trough of fast food 24/7, but it's she does get worn out and exhausted. So I think that these recipes that you've included are really, really helpful, but also just having a comprehension over what sugar looks like, where you can find it, and that's all in your book.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, like it is overwhelming. I get that. And there's not a perfect answer and there's not a perfect solution, and all families are different. But I think, like you just said, I mean, it begins with just understanding the nature of the problem, and then you just kind of can make subtle changes along the way. It's kind of like Nadal did in the Open last night. He was two
Yeah.
sets down. He's up against the wall.
Yeah.
Things weren't looking good, but in tennis we say 1 point at a time.
He rallied.
Maybe even one shot at a time, and
Yeah.
that's what you got to do. Is just take one little step at a time. Whatever you can do in that direction is going to help in the bigger journey. It's not
Right.
going to happen overnight.
Right. I like that one meal at a time idea. Like, how do you look at one meal at a time? That's what this fast did. That's what the 7-day fast for me was it was a really cool way to look at how, well, like I said earlier, how much sugar I take in and then where I can start to cut that out. And the tea is a great example. I like that sweetness, but why do I need so much sweetness? And how do I get a little of that sweetness? And how do I sort of teach my taste buds to enjoy the tea without as much sugar? I've got a crazy question for you.
Okay, bring it on.
This has nothing to do with your book. This is you and me. This is me like stealing this moment to get some serious advice. On occasion, in order to flush my system, I will do a fast. It's called the Master Cleanse. Have you ever heard of this thing?
I've done several of those. They're all little kind of different permutations. So which one did you do? Is
So
this
I
the
do the
juice one?
one, it's the lemon juice and it's maple syrup, which is where you get your calories, and
Mm-hmm.
water, cayenne pepper. And I'll go like
Oh, the one with the cayenne.
the one with the cayenne pepper. And
Yeah.
I'll go seven. The most I've ever done was 15 days,
Whoa, that's
but I'll go
intense.
12 days. And a certain part of me thinks that it's not, and it's interesting because I'll go on the fast, and because it's the maple syrup and I'm getting sugar and my calories from my sugar, it doesn't seem like ultimately it's very, very good for me. And I'm wondering, like, are there other fasts that I should look into if I want to clean out the system and if I want to take a break from eating? How do you do that healthfully? And is it a healthy thing at all? I mean, I know that certain people fast for spiritual purposes and you just take a break from eating for a day or two or whatever that is, or what that looks like. I know that breakfast is we're breaking a fast because our body doesn't eat anything from dinner until the next day. So our body is used to a rhythm of not putting stuff in it. I found that when I'm on those fasts, after the first couple of days of headaches and hangry, where you're just hungry and angry, there's this unbelievable clarity, and
Hmm.
my mind is it's wonderful, and I really enjoy it. But I'm wondering, is it good for me ultimately? And I watch myself. I'll reduce in poundage because of the fast, but then when I gain it back, I always pump up a couple extra pounds. And so there's this
Yeah.
idea of a yo-yo thing that happens where when I started the fasting, I was always at like 192. I would drop to like 186 or 185. But then when I came back, it'd be like 193, 194. And
Hmm.
then you fast again and then pop up a little more. So where's the balance? How do you find a balance and all that? What
Yeah,
would
I
you
mean, it's a little bit of a controversial topic. People have different opinions on it. I'm not a huge fan. I haven't done 18 days. I've done maybe a day or two. I certainly used to do juice fasts
Yeah.
on a periodic, or juice cleanse. Juice cleanses I'm not a big fan of, because it's, juice is just sugar, it's fructose. So, and I've taken recently more to doing, and somebody was just mentioning this, I've taken more to doing intermittent fasting, where 3, 4, or 5 days of the week, I'll do a 16-hour fast. So either skip dinner or skip breakfast. So if I finish eating around 6 or 7, and you don't eat till like lunchtime the next day, the idea is that you're giving your body a chance to regenerate and to rest, and that's probably more gentle. And there's emerging evidence to show multiple benefits of that on different body systems. So that would be my, and the science of this is changing, but
Right.
but that's that's where I would that's what I would do now if I was so inclined, and that's what I do actually
Right.
several days a week.
You do. Okay, so you skip the meal, you intermittent fast. What about like, do you think that we as I mean, I know you're from Scotland originally, is that correct?
Did I tell you that, or
No,
did you
I did a
detect
little
that from my
recon.
accent?
I did a little recon because your
Because
accent, I
a
was
lot
like,
of people think they recognize my accent, but they don't pinpoint it to Scotland.
yeah. But
But
do you
yeah,
think
I'm from Glasgow.
Glasgow, there you go.
Glasgow.
That's awesome. You
Anybody
miss it?
else out there from Scotland?
Anybody else watching from Scotland? I think Anne
Let's
might
see.
be. She's raising her
It's
flag.
getting late there. It's like
Um,
midnight.
we do have a lot of people from the UK that watch. I know that there's a few out there, and we've got somebody in Australia who's watching right now, so they're in the future. Um, so, do you think that we, in our Western culture, are just eating too much? Do you think that as a culture we're just consuming far too much food? Or do
Mm.
you think that we need the 3 meals a day and the snacks in between? And I mean, it just feels like when I watch myself, if I'm eating without control and my
Mm.
body can just crave food, even if it's sugar, regardless, I'm just like, why is there so much food in this day? Like, I don't know that I need that much food to get through the day, especially when I fast and realize I don't need any. And I'm looking at,
Yeah.
800 calories a day and can still function. Like, what's the real truth of that?
Well, first of all, I just want to say hello to all those Scottish people that are saying hi. So yeah, I'm from south side of Glasgow because somebody was asking. Giffnock is where I'm from. Um, the issue is we're wired to eat. I think we're kind of battling our ancestral genes and our ancestral needs, which were that food was a scarcity.
Mm,
And so that's how we were designed metabolically for feast or famine. We were designed to eat when there was food available so that we would survive the next famine that might be coming. And of course, nowadays we're just totally living in this world where food is so readily, cheaply available and highly processed, and um, it just becomes very difficult to regulate that in today's food environment where we're just overwhelmed with food opportunities, and of course things that are added to it that like the high sugar, like the sweeteners that don't satisfy our appetite. So anything with a lot of sugar is typically low in protein and low in fiber. And those are the things that satisfy our appetite and help regulate. So a lot of our tricks in Sugarproof are not
fine.
just to reduce the sugar. So for example, if you're going to make pancakes tomorrow
Mm-hmm.
for breakfast, make the batter, but there's a lot of little tricks you can do. You can add an extra egg white to increase the protein. You
Okay.
can throw in some flax or some fiber to increase, some flax seed or some chia seeds, just increase the fiber. So
Right.
there's lots of little simple things you can do because I think that balance is completely whacked out. We need to not just increase fiber. Those are what are going to help us regulate better our appetite.
Right. Yep. Okay. Good. Um, well, wrapping up the hour here, anything that you want to, where can people find your book? Because I think a lot of people, I highly recommend it, guys. If you can go, can you get it at like wherever books are sold, like Barnes and Nobles? Can you get it on Amazon?
Yeah, the book is available anywhere books are sold and in all formats. Hardback, which you're
I
showing,
have,
and
yeah.
here's the paperback. It's the same content. It
Okay.
might be a
A little cheaper.
actually on Amazon. The hardback is a little cheaper, but maybe at Barnes and Noble or an actual bookstore, the paperback would be cheaper.
Is there
But
any like are people should they the paperback is newer and so you get to go back in and edit stuff. Is there just newer stuff, different recipes in the paperback?
no, it's the same content, exactly the same content.
Okay.
So then there's also the Kindle and the audiobook. And if you're overseas, a good source is bookdepository.com, because they ship anywhere in the world for free. And
Cool.
then lastly, follow us, because there's 39 recipes in the book, but since the book was published, we've probably published, I don't know, maybe 50 more. So if you go to the website, sugarproofkids.com, you can sign up for our newsletter and check out all of our recent recipes too.
And this is Dr. Emily Ventura. She's the one that comes up with the recipes, or a lot of them.
Yeah, we brainstorm a little bit together. She was a former student of mine. Now she lives in the UK with two younger kids, and she likes to develop recipes, and she developed the sugar-proof muffins, for example, and the banana bars and all the other recipes. She's actually spends a lot of time in the kitchen, taste testing and inventing these things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Bar BM601 just said she loves the recipe on IG too. So she follows you. And they can find you at Sugarproof Kids, right?
On Instagram or Facebook, yeah.
Facebook. Are you guys on Twitter at all? Do you do the Twitter?
I do Twitter under my own handle, which is at Michael Goran, but we're doing most of our stuff these days on Instagram.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Any parting words? Any last little tidbit you want to share with us?
Thank you so much, Chris, for having me on and sharing this with your amazing audience. Yeah. And thank you for all that you're doing. And I want to hear that song again.
I'll send you. I got to record it. I haven't recorded it yet.
Oh, really?
On these things, I play it live, and every time I sing it, it's a little different. Well, Michael, I really appreciate you waiting patiently. First off, you and I had spoken.
No problem. Yeah.
I think over the summer, and you sent this to me, and we had talked about having you come on in the fall, and then the dates kept getting pushed. So you were so patient with me, and then I think the timing worked out, because ever since the paperback has been published, so you've got two versions of this plus the audio or the Kindle. And I highly recommend people to go and check this out, because it just really organizes the diet and how you can cut sugar out if you want to cut sugar out.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, my wife just came in and she's like, I need the sugar. Are you going to cook with it?
Yes.
Well, don't cut it in half. Look how much is in a thing of Coke.
That's a lot.
Here's it. That's a really good tip right there. We say that a lot. Like, if you're baking with sugar, if the recipe says a cup, you could easily cut it to half a cup. And if that seems like too much, you could start with a 30% cut, and then next time half a cup. It's not going to affect the texture or the quality of the product. It's just going to taste a little less sweet, and it's an easy way to just kind of cut down. And in fact, what we found is that you can actually taste the other things better,
right? When there's
less sugar, because sugar is such a powerful, overwhelming taste that it kind of dampens out everything else.
So funny. Like the other day before the fast, I was drinking a Dr. Pepper. And I've long known the evils of soda, and so I'll always do water, but every once in a while I'll do the little Dr. Pepper or whatever. And it knocked out, the Dr. Pepper was so sweet that it knocked out the flavor of the burrito that I was eating. Like, I literally couldn't, my taste buds just went womp, and then the burrito was it wasn't bland, but it just wasn't as powerful as if I just was drinking water, or doing the burrito first. Anyway, perhaps I'd love to keep this conversation. It sounds like you're a tennis player. Are you a tennis player?
Yeah. You too?
Man, I would love to get back out. I used to play tennis when I was a kid, and I was very, very good at it. And I haven't played in probably 20 years, and I actually miss it. Do you play in Are you guys in L?
That was me 10 years ago. I was saying exactly the same thing. I used to play as a kid, and I hadn't played, and I just started playing again, and I'm totally hooked.
Love it, right?
Yeah, I play I play either at Vermont Canyon, which are some of the best public courts in LA, or at Flint Canyon Tennis Club.
Okay, well, Maybe I'll get an invite to join you for tennis one day, and we can
Yeah,
tennis.
I'd love.
You just
Yeah.
sold the book, by the way. Somebody just bought
Oh, thank
the book.
you.
There we go. Yeah, everybody go get one. It's pretty great. All right, boss. I'm gonna let you go, and I'm gonna wish.
Yeah, thank
If
you
you,
so much.
yeah, just I still can't. I got a new phone, and I thought maybe everything was gonna change for me. But in order for my guests to leave, they've got to excuse themselves. So there's a little gray X up in that corner, and
Yeah,
you just click that, and you're out.
thank you, everybody. Have a great week. Be
Bye.
well. Stay well, everybody. Be strong. Take care.
Thanks, Dr. Goran. Bye, Michael. All right, kids, that's the show. Thank you so much, Dr. Goran. Guys, again, the book is Sugarproof, The Hidden Dangers of Sugar. And you know what? I know that people are like, I know about sugar. It's interesting to read because the more information you have, at least that you've equipped yourself with the knowledge of what you're putting in your body. Our lives are so short. And our bodies, as strong as they are and as much as they endure, are also these beautiful, well-balanced machines that get thrown out of balance. And we're capable of doing a lot of damage and a lot of harm to our bodies, physically, mentally, spiritually. But why put yourself through trauma when you don't have to? And sugar is one of those things. I watch it when my kids eat it. I watch how the attitudes shift and change, the focus a little more aggravated. I'm super sensitive to sugar. It's something that my mom, the reason why I grew up in a sugar-free household was because she was super sensitive to sugar, is super sensitive to sugar. So sugar's always been one of those things that I've had my eye on my whole life, which is why I wanted to bring Dr. Goran on. I saw him on Nikki DeLoach's Instagram Live, and I was curious, and he was kind enough to send me this book. And I have been reading it and read it, and I'm able to go back through and look at it again and again, just because it's curious to me, and it's really a cool book to read. So I highly recommend you guys go in to get this. And thank you, everybody, for joining me today on the Polaha Chautauqua. I wanted to read something to you, but of course, it is on my it's on my phone, so I'll read it to you another day. All right, guys, have a great week. Bye bye, everybody. Bye bye.